Reverend Shawna Bowman likes to say that when we're praying, we talk about a creator God, but we rarely worship our creative God. Shawna is working to bring more creativity to the worship experience at Friendship Presbyterian Church in Chicago, where she's the pastor. She's also helped start a new experiment at the intersection of faith and art called Creation Lab. For more, we welcome Shawna, along with two youth who have spent a lot of time at Creation Lab. Jonah Weber is Shawna's son and a 7th grader at Audubon Elementary School in Chicago. And Carolyn Santos is a sophomore at Oak Park River Forest High School and attends Fair Oak Presbyterian Church in Oak Park. I can't wait to hear more about this. Shawna, tell us what Creation Lab is.
I will admit that Creation Lab started mostly out of a selfish endeavor. So there was several friends of mine and I who are both working in churches and also artists or creative types. And we started getting together regularly, and then we started getting together for Sunday evening dinner and craft night. And we did that for a couple of years, and then we got to a point where we thought, it would be really wonderful to have a space to share not only our materials and our projects that we were sharing with each other, but to invite other people into that space. So we opened Creation Lab, which is a shared studio space west of Logan Square on Kildare. Okay. And it's a place where it really is a working studio and meant to be a laboratory or an incubator where people can come and try things or teach each other things, workshop ideas, and create.
And be all together to do it. That sounds really fun. Tell me what Skunkworks is about.
So the idea, the concept of Skunkworks is that a place gets set aside in the life of a community or an organization where creative processes and experiments can happen, and that the rate of failure is actually, like, the higher the better, because it means you're trying a lot of things. And so increasingly organizations or businesses are creating Skunkworks, or sometimes we think of them as like R&D departments where people are let loose to try lots of things. And in the life of the church at this juncture, there are not a lot of places where we're let loose in that way. And so we wanted to create a space where people really felt free to try a lot of things, and that failure was not something to be afraid of, but in fact was going to be an important part of a learning process.
Excellent. I like that.
Yeah.
Jonah, what kinds of things do you do when you're there?
I do a lot of like spray painting, stencil work. I don't do a lot of big art projects, but I keep it pretty simple. Okay.
And how about you, Carolyn?
I don't consider myself a huge artist, but I have a really busy life being a sophomore in high school, and when Creation Lab invites us to go over and do artistic things such as journaling or creating journals, or we had an opening party or getting set for everything, that was fun, and it was just a time where I could relax and just focus on one thing and not have to worry about everything else.
No, I'm glad to hear that. We all need that sometimes. So Shawna, back to being a pastor of a church. When people visit Friendship Presbyterian, you want them to leave using words like creative, experimental, and bold. What do you do to foster that?
I think in some ways our space at Friendship is really helpful for fostering that. So it's a non-traditional worship space. Right now we worship at the Norwood Park Metro Station. And so the space itself is, as soon as you walk in, you sort of take a step back and have to reorientate yourself to what it means to be in church in not a church building, which seems like a really simple thing, but it's just sometimes enough for people to shift their perspective. We also have full use of that space, and so we use it to our advantage. Today is Pentecost, and so we hung flame shapes from every place we could hang them from the ceiling, and created a very warm and inviting atmosphere. We paint the windows seasonally, so that there's also a sense of visual appeal and creative energy when you enter the space.
It sounds amazing.
And then just the way in which we worship, we really emphasize the liturgy as truly the work of the people, and so we get as many voices speaking in worship as possible, whether it's in liturgy or song, and we do a lot of storytelling, so community storytelling, sometimes in relationship to the sermon or other parts of the worship service. And so it's a very engaging space. And we often joke at Friendship that if you are a person looking for an anonymous worship experience, this isn't it.
Okay. You're going to notice us.
You're going to be invited to participate in the process from the minute you walk in the door.
Jonah, what do you think about Church in a Train Station for younger people?
I think it's a really cool space, and it's not like traditional, and I like that a lot. Yeah, I like how it's different from other churches and stuff like that.
Excellent. And Carolyn, do you see any connection between your participation at the Creation Lab and do you attend another church?
Yeah, I attend Fair Oaks Presbyterian Church in Oak Park, and we do a lot of like crafts, and we do a lot of kind of things that bring out our creativity, whether it is music or it's like sharing a story. We even do acting sometimes.
Fun.
And so I mean, creativity has been a part of my life spiritually and like regularly. I don't know if there is a difference. So
I like that. Shawna, what is it like for you to combine roles as an artist and a pastor?
It's very much an entwined identity for me. So being an artist and a pastor are sort of two facets for me of the same vocation. And it took me a while to sort of sort that out. When I first went to seminary to become a pastor, I really felt like I was leaving my artist self and my art teacher self behind. And what I discovered in the process was that for me, ministry and the work of faith communities is a really artistic, creative practice. And so I've been saying recently that I think that the Christian life is a creative life because there is so much involved in being able to have courage to take risks and to be bold in the work that we're doing and to have a sense of trusting the process and the bigger picture, which is very much how the creative life works. Artists make 100 terrible things before they make one good piece or that they're happy with, right? We all know that that's true as artists. And in the Christian life, we say, that's what we say we're about, that trying over and over and over again to be to come closer to what it is that God's calling us to do and being willing to take risks to get there, I think is, to me, a very, those two come together really well if we let them, if we think creatively about our life as people of faith.
In creating space at Creation Lab, how do you feel like you make it welcoming to younger folks as well as older folks?
I think some of it is really logistics, right? Like for the creative process to be accessible, it really needs to be something that's approachable. And so we try to have a lot of different kinds of materials available. There are certain materials that people are more comfortable with starting out. Bookbinding is a great one. In terms of crafts that people can learn and sort of bring their own artistic bent to, but also that they can follow a series of steps to get to completion. And sometimes that gives people new to the arts a lot of a sense of, okay, there's a process here that I can follow, and it's not just like do whatever you want. So we try to balance the space, and we host workshops once a month that have a more sort of start to finish project and gives people a chance to see the space and experience creating something in it. And then we also have open studio times where it really is just come, bring your project, or hang out, or make something if you want to. Here are all the materials. So try to offering that kind of full range.
Thank you so much, Shawna and Jonah and Carolyn, for being here and telling us more about this. I'm Polly Toner for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.